Okay. Let's see how we do. Stuff. Hello. Hello, hello. Alright. Let's get all swapped over here. Need to move my reference photo. Well, that doesn't help. Because you know why it doesn't help? Because I didn't turn time-lapse on. Yes, I wish to record the draft there. Oh, do do do. Okay. Oh, that's too long. That's too long. Way too long. No, it's not. I'm looking at the wrong part. Okay, there's that part. And then we go down again. And there's the hoof. Okay. Good old fashioned mechanics. Hey! Can you guess what I'm drawing? Zoom my reference photo in. I gotta get these back legs here. Bom, 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 bom. A long-legged puppy. Not quite close. Gotta draw them digits. This is the one leg that's like this. And then there's the thing, and there's the thing, and this thing, and the thing. Okay. Because remember, it's lifted up. So there's the joint, and then there's the secondary joint, and there's the hoof. And then the thing is, this leg here is actually a little too, it needs to be out. It does actually need to be out over here. Okay, and then we're gonna move that. No, I think a long-legged puppy is definitely a way to discuss these. Because there's that rounder belly there. And then Okay, so there's that. The legs are not long enough. The legs are not long enough. Not in my opinion. Control T. We're actually going to lift that up just a little bit. That is a recurring problem of mine, is that I can never get the legs long enough. Okay, now. We're about whoop, 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 whoop. Wrong button. Wrong button. And then out and about, it goes back up here to the jaw, which goes up here to the head, and then we'll work from there. The good news is the mane is on the other side, so I don't have to worry about that one. My issue is with doing people's arms. Yes, arm position. Control T. Control T. Okay, because the thing with this one is it actually has a rider. So I need to be able to position the note. Because then the saddle horn is up here. Hang on, I need to zoom. Get some of this positioned right. And that actually goes out farther than that. Because then it bends into the neck and the stuff. Okay. And then it. Okay. Gotta restart my phone. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Okay, so that is the sum of the saddle horn. Okay, and then we're gonna swap over. Let's get some fine-tuned details on this just a bit. Hello! Nice to meet you. Welcome, welcome. I am attempting to draw a horse. I do have a reference photo. Pulled straight off of my friend's Facebook. Yeah, straight off my friend's Facebook. Tack is very hard. There are lots of straps. So like there's this, and then, okay, so this is in the mouth. This is the bit. It goes in the mouth, right? Right? Now, then there's some other leathery bits over here, and then it connects to this strap here, and then that actually goes up to the rein, which goes actually that way. And so this loop here is the secondary one is over here, and then it has a secondary bit over here. Well, sort of like that, and then the rain goes up like this and actually goes around. Again, this is the pure practice here. Okay. So there's the face, because that jaw structure is here. I figured a trick out about the eyes. Okay, so I found a concept sketch on Pinterest that references almost like a cylindrical tube through the skull to get that indent for where the eye sockets are to line up. Game changer for me. Okay, because there's the rest of the head, and then it kind of goes up like this, and he does have a little bit of hair there. We'll play with that later. And then he was alert, so his ears are kind of like that one. And they mirror devil horns, because sometimes if you have an ornery horse, they are quite a devil. And then kind of like that. And then kind of like that. Now, the only problem with my reference photo is it is kind of in the sunset time, so there's lots of shadow, so it makes that ear a little tricky. In fact, I don't think I got it right. So I'm going to move it. It needs to kind of be closer over here. There we go. Because that bridle, because that is what this is a bridle, goes around the back of their head. And there's the medallion over there. And then it goes, now his mane is actually brushed over to the other side. Big, strong neck. Strong neck. Got good, strong necks. Okay. Now, this may look a little squatty-ish, but I promise proportionately it is technically right. Because the barrel of the chest goes out like this. And then he's a paint. The particular horse is a paint, which makes the paint colors. He's kind of got this brown part on his chest, which makes the barrel easier to spot. Now, he has a little titty thing there. And it kind of goes like that. And then it goes. And it goes, and there's a thing there. A leather strappy thing that does actually, it's a little bit loose, and it hangs underneath the barrel of the chest some. Oop, sort of, because there's the chest, and then the muscle actually is like that, and then the leg muscle is over here. Okay, so whoop, hang on. My pin is trying to rearrange itself on me, and I don't want it to. Stop it! Now these boys, they got muscles for days here. I mean, after all, a horse's power is mostly in his legs, especially his front legs. And they're some chunky things, because there's even like a muscle there. I am not going into the anatomy of a horse. But the barrel of the chest is down here. And then there's the thing over there. With a what's-a-who's-its over here. Oh, goody! You'll have to send me photos as you work on it. I am very proud of you. Because I saw the granny square that you sent me a picture of a while back. Also, don't be afraid of nubby knees. Horses have indeed very nubby knees. It's when they don't have nubby knees that you need to be concerned, because that means that their knees are inflamed. And then we go down here to the hoof. And the thing is that there's actually a pile of dirt right here in my photo, so it's I'm gonna have to make a little bit of this up, just a little bit. So the way that this particular leg is, it's very stilt-like until you get over here. And a light nub in the front, and then we're gonna go this way. Ooh, think a high heel shoe here, because then it kind of goes down, and we're gonna go like this. Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Although you have me curious there. Savage, where do you think I'm from? Sis, don't tell him. Don't tell him. We shall surprise them. Ah, ha, 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 ha. Okay, now this goes. There's the nub. I do not know horse anatomy, I'm gonna call it a nub because that's what it is in my brain. And then we're gonna just group that around. There are no dumb answers. There are no dumb answers. Only dumb people. No, I'm kidding. I've had some dumb questions in my life. I've asked some dumb questions in my life. The dumbest question I can think of off the top of my head was actually my nephew. We were playing dominoes and Mexican Train, if you know that particular game. And he asked, can you play a double on a double? And the world seemed to come to a screeching halt, and we all just kind of looked at each other and laughed in his face. Which, to be fair, he was a teenager, so he can take it. Well, he is a Gen Z, so he can dish it, but he can't take it. But, you know, it was a teenager, so we didn't feel bad. Also, in my defense, I know a lot of people in government, so yes, there are dumb people. Don't feel bad. Alrighty, now we're getting up to the ass. It's all about that ass. Sorry. Ooh, the barrel is hard to proportion in my brain because there is an additional muscle over here, and they're in their flank. That flank. Anyway, there's a muscle over here, and the shadow, sometimes I get it a little off here, but I'm pretty darn sure. Not only that, but because he's a paint, he has a line, and my brain is like misregistering the angle of his back end. Hi, Bobby. Okay. Now, oh, I forgot the chest strap. So saddles have many straps for many reasons. This strap is what keeps the saddle on the saddle blanket around here. So there are reins, but they're very thin lines, and I'm afraid if I draw them, it'll just confuse me. So we're going to include the bands here, because there is a band that goes over here. The saddle blanket, so there's the neck, and then the start of the back. A saddle blanket is supposed to start right just about, I'd say about an inch or two from where the neck meets the back of a horse, if I recall correctly. Don't come after me. It has been many years since I have ridden a horse. Blame Girl Scouts. Okay. Now, if my Girl Scouts knowledge is right, which may not be so, it's been a while. Again, I don't ride. I don't ride at all. But I know the saddle blanket goes on first, because that is what keeps the leather of the saddle from rubbing on their back. And the strap underneath is what keeps it tight to the body, and if you don't tighten this just right, that saddle will be upside down. Now, this is an American saddle, not to be confused with an English saddle, so this is American tack. But it is strapped, so that strap goes directly to the saddle. I am doing my best here because, again, part of this is in shadow, like in the setting sun, so the saddle is naturally very dark. There's a thing there, because the strap goes down to that. And then over here is the stirrup. And there is a boot in that stirrup. See if I can get these proportions right. The more busy it is, the harder it is to see. Okay, so the saddle horn should be about there. Saddle horn, and then the saddle itself sits about there. The strap goes about like that. These don't have to be perfect right now, they just need to be... I think I may have that too far back. Okay, hang on, I need a secondary color. Actually, let's go with green. Okay. Okay. I'm pretty sure I have the saddle in the right, or the saddle horn in the right spot, so we're gonna start there, and then there's another hand, and then we're gonna, there's an arm. Actually, that arm needs to be a little bit farther forward. Raise it up. Again, this is a draft sketch. Because the torso will end about there. She is seated, so the proportions are slightly different. Now the hip bone will be about there. No, that's not right. Oh, too many lines. think that needs to move farther there. Yes. Now we're going to deselect that, move this around, because there's the gene line. Because the knee is there. So that's the knee. Because remember, you gotta remember, so a boot is a hard sole shoe. So it is very, very hard to bend a boot. Now, you can bend your foot in a boot to an extent, but it is designed to be a hard sole shoe, and it keeps your foot at a similar, close to the natural flat angle. So if the tip of her shoe is there, because the ball of her foot is in the stirrup, then her heel is back here, because the boot goes up underneath the denim. So her boot is here. Now, her jean line, it's a little girl, by the way. So her jean line is up here. Now there's a strap over here. The trick is that the knee, so that's the foot. Her knee is actually over here. And then her hip line is closer to like that. So I need to erase some of that. We'll go over it again. It's okay. It goes up kind of like this. Because then her back end is over here. Because the hip goes into the hip socket there. The back end is there. And the body is concealed behind that, but I need to redo some of that. That's fine. So her shirt line is here over the hip. And then she's wearing a kind of a flowy blouse with some ruffly sleeves. So the ruffled sleeves kind of cover up some of the back. But you know what I should do? I really should do this, is I should draw the body and then add the clothes. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna swap over to a purple so I can get the body lines in here. So if that's the hips there, that's the hips behind, then the torso would be here. Because she's a kid, so I don't have to worry about too much. And there's the torso, and then there's the shoulders, and she has her arms resting. So there's the arms. There's the arms. Okay, now we're gonna go over here. There's one hand over here resting on top of the other hand, which is on the resting there. And then she is also holding the reins, so we'll just give that a courtesy line here. Okay. So I am using FireAlpaca. And that is the software that I am using. FireAlpaca is free. And that's one reason why I like it, because I am poor. And I do this as a hobby. Okay, so there's the neck. Yes, it is a little thick, but that's okay. And we're just positioning here because the head is here. ear line. She has a 3/4 face turned about that way. So the nose will be there. And then the best part is that the majority of her hair is underneath a hat. A great big hats are hard, by the way. Brimmed hat. You can't really see it because great big hat. It's her daddy's hat. Something like that. Is it perfect? No. But this is an excellent mock-up for concept here. Okay, now that is our rough sketch. Okay, is it perfect? Absolutely not. But we're going to start on the secondary layer. I'm going to zoom in so I can get a better spot on the... Okay, so here's my method, and I'm mildly crazy. So as you can see, I've got red lines, I've got blue lines, I've got green lines, I've got purple lines. Now, I don't like to use a lot of outlining, but I need a clearer outline than what I've got, because again, this is a rough sketch. So I do the flat base layer, which is the white. I do a mock-up rough sketch on a layer 2, and then I do a more fine-tuned sketch on the 3rd layer, and then I will start doing the art coloring. Now, I'm already on, what, half an hour for this? So I don't think I'm going to get to any sort of coloring right now. But what I can do is at least get the base sketch done. I need black. And so that hat is actually down on her head like that. Not even close. Totally butchered that. Let's try that again. Let's try that hat line again. So a cowboy hat has a round like that, sort of. Her ear is over here. She's got a braid that goes down like that. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. No, don't you dare time out. Okay, and then we're gonna relax the shoulders because she is sitting comfortably. And we're gonna billow those sleeves a little bit. Billowing the sleeves because there's some ruffles. Doesn't have to be perfect. We'll fix this in the coloring. Okay. Actually, well, that's more to that. Now, our neckline is down here with some more ruffles. Do you prefer drawing with a mouse, pen, or finger? So I use an XP tablet, $40 on Amazon. It does take a little bit of practice to get used to looking at your monitor while your fingers are holding a pen and drawing on a tablet. But again, I am cheap. So, and I do this as a hobby. So, and there is a little bit of a pattern around around the wrists, around the arms here. Okay, now we're gonna get into the hand here. I need to move this down just a little bit. Okay, so there's one finger, two fingers. Great thing about knuckles, you don't have to draw the whole hand. Is it perfect? No. Zoom that in just a little bit. See how you could probably, I don't know if you really see it, how pixelated it is, but I should have picked a bigger image, but whatever. Okay. Now, over here is the other hand, as it is resting on the horn, and it is also kind of curled around, and then the thumb goes around kind of like that, because again, it's over that horn, and she is also holding a rein. Better knuckles finger. So, reference photos for the win. Again, this is very rough. This is very rough. I am just trying to get the body position. Don't even ask about the hat. Don't ask me about that, because that is all wrong. Not only that, but her forehead is not right. Okay. I'm actually going to erase that a little bit. Okay, so we're going to... The forehead does protrude a little bit because of where the eyebrow bone is for the eye socket. There's also a little bit of a cheek back there. And then this goes around like that because the hat line is right about level with her eye. It does protrude quite a bit. It actually protrudes probably to about there. And it goes like that. Because they... And the thing is that the hat is black. I can't see it. I know that there is a hat line right about there. Yeah, right about there. And then the rest of her hair is back here. And then the hat itself, you know, that follows the headline. So it's kind of up here. And then hats are a pain in the butt to draw. Is that right? No. No, that looks terrible. It really does. Hats are hard. I'll work on it later. But you see how it is, kind of like that. Now, you don't actually see a lot of her arm over here. So I think... So there's the saddle. And then her shirt is down like this. And it runs along the line there. Because you don't see much of her backside, you mostly just see the leg. Because the leg, the way that it's angled, you don't really see. It's kind of like that. And then there's a line in the jean, and it goes up like that. Because it is, again, it's also laying against the saddle and against the stuff like that. And then there's a strap. There's a strap that goes like this because it connects to right there. And then it connects to a piece there. And then it goes on like that. There's a bow to a stirrup. And then the bottom of her shoe is like that, because again, it's a hard shoe. I'm actually going to take that away just real quick, because it's more like this. And then the way that the foot is twisted in the stirrup makes for a bit of a challenge. I might have to brighten this image just so I can see it. But like her boot is up here. Because you might not be aware, but cowboy boots, American cowboy boots anyway, most cowboy boots come in, well, they come in several different lengths, but the average cowboy boot, especially for kids and stuff, go up to about mid-calf. Or taller. I mean, I've seen some that can go all the way up to just underneath the knee. Just depends on the cowboy boot that you get, where it's coming from, stuff like that. So, again, don't quote me on this. And then the saddle. See, I think I have that leg too long. Let me zoom out real quick. I need to look at my image here. I actually think it needs to be rotated some. What if I shorten it just a little bit? I think that's actually closer. Okay, so look at the before. Now look at the after. Yes, does it look weird? But you also got to remember the barrel of a horse is huge. I mean, they're you big boys. And this is a kid. So the kid in my photo is probably about 6 or 7, maybe 8. I'm trying to remember when this photo was taken. So proportionately, this is a full-size horse with a 7 or 8-year-old on them. Their legs are going to be spread very wide on either side of this horse because it's a full-size horse with a child riding on it. So the fact that that leg looks a little wonky is not necessarily wrong. It throws my brain off, but you know, what can you do? So I do want to, yeah, we'll keep going. We'll keep going. I at least want to try to get the saddle tack right. It doesn't have to be perfect, because again, this is just practice. It's good enough for what it's for. But again, so if that leg is where that's supposed to be, then, you know, there's the edge of the saddle line, and so that's where that front is, and then you start with the side leather pieces that go down. They actually touch your knee, and then there's this strap. The strap, this strap here, and that actually, let me zoom out on the horse here. So that piece needs to go there. How long is that piece? That's about right. And then it has some leather here, which then reaches a belt buckle, and then it comes up right about to her knee line. See the knee line? Yes. So like my colored lines are the estimates. The black lines are more for finalizing, because again, what I'm trying to do, which is freaking hard, is that tack is down here, and that saddle blanket is about there, which, because it aligns, so the end of the saddle blanket's right about there, and lines up with that stirrup line, and then it goes back like that. That's actually pretty accurate, and then it goes up and around. That's by sheer brain power here. And even then my brain is cooking in the skull, trying to get all these lines right. Because there's so much tech. And it's in the dark. I picked a terrible picture. But anyway. And then that goes down around the belly. And the problem is that this is now too far forward. So what we're going to do, it's a great thing about, so Control T, if I just hit Control T, it will surround everything that is on that layer. And then I can do that. And I can actually move the whole thing forward. In fact, if you hit, where is it? So Control T is transform, but if you hit mesh transform, it will give you some grid lines and you can move things around ever so slightly. So I'm actually going to push her back just a little. Go ahead and hit that. So we're going to select mesh transform. So you see how these grid lines are? So mesh transform allows me to do like that. Or, so for example, the hat. That edge needs to kind of go like that. And just do some slightly fine tuning. So now, looks more like a kid instead of a tiny adult. I've done some animations before, so if you watch my starting soon scene, I've done those. And you can do mild animations in FireAlpaca. It does have an animation function. See, there's an animation function up here. That's how I did my rolling tumbleweed on my starting scene, as well as the starting soon. It's very similar. So you see how these layers build on top of each other, right? So like I can turn one off and turn it back on. Animation in FireAlpaca is basically the same principle. It's just like you would see, think the old Disney animations where you see them flipping the paper up and down, up and down, up and down, and that's how you see the animation. The layers function the same way. So that's how that particularly works. Now, I am actually going to leave this as its own layer and do a separate layer for the horse. I'm going to put it underneath just because I'm weird like that. And then we're going to go in here and start working on the horse. Now again, I'm not going for perfection here. I'm just trying to get as much of the base details. Zoom into that. Oh, I forgot the headband. That's the other part of the bridle. The bridle, there's a piece that goes around here. This is how you control the turn of their head. All these straps. There's a buckle there. Tighten. Does it have to be perfect? No. And there's an extra piece of leather. Then it goes over here. And that connects down to the bit. The bit is the piece that goes in behind their teeth and is what helps turn their heads. No. Okay, and you can't see the eye on this side because of where it's positioned, but because you gotta have some hair. Okay, now that ear kind of goes like that, with the outer ear like that. There is a gap between that and the part of the bridle. Now this one is actually facing out. And then there's some more. There's some more hair over here. And then it kind of goes over like that. No, I have that wrong. It is actually a little bit lower than that. And then it kind of dips just a little bit. And then we get to the muzzle, or the snoot. The snoot. And then there's the lip, upper lip. It's a kind of a square looking thing. I know it's a little weird, but you know, what it is, what it is. It does curve up just a little bit because of the bit in the mouth. And then that nostril is a large curve with an indent to go out. Is it perfect? Absolutely not, but whatever. Other ring or other strap. So see how this kind of goes down like that? And there's that one on the other side. And there's a piece of leather there. Then there's a piece of leather that connects that bit and that bit. And then that is what connects all the way up there. And Whoops. My pin. How dare you. Rude. Oops. Overshot it. There we go. It can go like that. Because the neck is down here. Down here. And then we get to the shoulders where that chest piece is with the big circle. And then we get down here. And then we start going like that. Now, personally, these lines, other than the bridle pieces, is pretty much done. I'm not going to go over the red lines again. I did want to iron out at least the face a little bit more, just because there is so much busy over here. But in the meantime, there we go. So, snoot. I have even been told about layers that one person, she'll do, like if she's doing a character, she'll do the whole body and then the face as a separate layer in and of itself. So, but that is my horse and my rider. The only thing I really didn't include was the tail, which is not a big deal. But there she is. Oh, I think that's enough for today. I really don't have a lot of time to do more than just an hour a night, so I'm going to call that there for now, and then we will circle back to work on this tomorrow. This will probably end up being at least, what, a 3-part series? Just depends. It's that stupid hat. That hat's better now, but yeah. I am going to go in here and I don't really like to erase it, but honestly, I think it would be a little bit less confusing since she's moved so much. I'm not going to erase too much, but just because I have so many lines over there, I think that'll be okay for now. I could have also copied and pasted it onto a different layer, but whatever. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. I'm going to turn off that layer real quick. Turn that layer off real quick. And then I'm going to select. And then we're going to edit, and we're going to cut, add a layer, paste. There we go. Okay, we're going to deselect. Wait, why do I have another layer? But that way I can... Why do I have a layer? There's nothing on that layer. Why do I even have that layer? But now I can do that. Ta-da! Okay. But yes, there we go. That is an excellent starting point for tomorrow. I am going to go in here and save as... This is day... what, 35? Yes, this is... I'm going to call this the rider. I'm going to stop my time lapse. Which I also appreciate the time lapse. You can set it either as an MP4 or an animated GIF. I personally do MP4. I like to set it for... You have the option of going all the way to 60 seconds, or you can type in a different length of time here. And then I will actually do 35 rider. You can't see this on your side, but I'm filling out the other window here. Okay. All right, my dears. I think I am done for the night, so I will see y'all about 7 o'clock my mountain time here tomorrow. Bye.